Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're stepping into the world of HR. We're honored to have with us Diane Mershon Heyman, president of DMH Consulting. How are you doing?
I'm doing great this morning, Jeremy. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and also to the audience that you reach. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we get to dive into this world of HR, but before we talk about what you do right now, let's talk about how you got into this. So give us a little bit of your backstory, especially in terms of the corporate side that will lead us into the consulting that you're doing currently.
Sure. Well, I'm a career human resource person, so I've been doing this for 30 years. And the majority of my time was in hospitality. So, and that is hotels. So many of your listeners, and you will recognize brands like Embassy Suites and Hampton Inns and Homewood Suites, Doubletree, and they were called Promise Hotels. And so I worked in a corporate capacity, serving the hotels that make up those brands. And I worked in all areas of human resources there. And then we were purchased by Hilton Hotels Corporation. And so our world got a lot bigger. So we became, had a lot more places nationally, and then moved into the international space with Hilton. So that was a tremendous opportunity. And during the years that I was there, I worked in all areas of human resources. So had the opportunity to work in recruiting and development and compensation and benefits and putting together affirmative action plans and really just marrying people strategies with business strategies and working with anywhere from hotel workers in the, housekeepers, I always say housekeepers to CEOs and all in between. So that was really exciting. I love the diversity of the people. I love the diversity of the work and the different locations that we were at. So I really enjoyed my time there. Kind of worked my way up over time. And the last position that I had there with Hilton was Senior Vice President of Compensation and Benefits globally. So I had an international team located throughout the world as well as the United States. And we supported compensation and benefits programs and helped set those for a base of about 130,000 employees. So very exciting times. And I just appreciated the ability to learn about mergers, acquisitions, change, agility for change, and working with different layers of new management and things that came in around the years, but really great that way. Then I got recruited to go work for ALSAC St. Jude as their SVP and Chief People Officer there. And what an exciting time to move from public organization to a nonprofit. And so that was really great. And I was the head of HR for 7 years there. And we worked a lot on putting in a whole new human resource information system, which was a game changer for us. It was called Workday. And that allowed us to have some efficiencies, some frameworks to operate with succession and learning and data and analytics to give us insights for things that we needed to do. So we built out also the learning and development while we were there for employees and really worked on some real intentional efforts regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it was a really period of great growth for us. When I started there, we were looking at less than $1 billion in revenue a year. And when I left, it was about $2 billion a year. So tremendous growth. Love the opportunity to be there. And then the pandemic happened, and lots of change and things that way. But I really started, reflecting, which I think so many of us did, about what's important and what we wanted to do for future. So having worked in a very high level position for several years with Hilton and then with ALSAC, I was ready for a little bit more flexibility in my life. And so I said, how can I continue to use all of the skills and capabilities that I have learned over time and help other organizations? And so I really felt that there was a niche for medium to smaller size businesses to help them really think about solving their most pressing business issues with people, because people are really the I guess that's just the heartbeat of our organizations. And so in being able to have those people strategies and align those with business strategies, that's what I'm focused on. And I've been doing that since 21. So far, so good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that paints the picture, obviously, of the storyline, but obviously what you do now with DMH Consulting. And so carry that into a little bit more of what you're doing now with the businesses and the consulting and helping them. So give us a little bit of an illustration around some of the current projects and things that you're working on.
So some of the things that I've worked on over the last couple of years, which have been kind of exciting for me and hopefully great for the organizations that I've been helping. One was I worked with a medium size organization here in the Memphis area. They were experiencing tremendous growth, which was fantastic for the organization, and they were projecting that that was going to continue in the future. So they had strategies in place for that. But they wanted to make sure that their workforce was going to be available and ready to be able to meet those strategies. So I came in and worked with the CEO and the executive leadership to find out, what those strategies were, what their expectations were, and where they saw themselves today. And then worked with them and then the human resources department. Came up with a baseline for them. Here's where I think you kind of are today, and benchmark that against other companies as well. Here's where I think you're doing great. Here's where I think that you've got some gaps that may be able, if you can fill some of those in, let's work on some strategies for the future so that you'll have the right people at the right time with the right capabilities to be able to move toward meeting all of those goals and strategies that you had. So that was one that was really fun. Another one that I just finished at the end of the year was working with a board and a selection committee to come to find a new CEO. And so what I did working with them is figure out a fair and equitable process to lead them through, help them understand and think about what were the things that that CEO was going to need as capabilities, skills, experience, background? What do they need today? What do the stakeholders think about, and are the needs of the stakeholders that the CEO will have to answer to? And then what were those needs for the future? So I actually did the interviewing, all the initial interviewing for the leadership position of the CEO, and then guided the selection panel as they did group and panel interviews as we narrowed down those candidates and were able to fill that CEO position. And then finally, one of the things I've worked on a lot over the last few years is employee relations. So helping, we're people, we're going to have conflict, and we have different ideas about things. And sometimes it just comes down to communications that didn't work out well. So helping consult with organizations, either their HR or their business leaders, kind of consult with some issues that they are dealing with, letting them know they're not alone when things come up, or coming in and doing an outside, from an outsider's perspective, an investigation, kind of gather all the facts and then kind of figure out, what's the best path forward. So those are just a few of the things that I offer, but I'm just trying to figure out what are those things that businesses need the most. If I can help them with it, I'm happy to do that, or I'm happy to, refer them to someone else who can.
Yeah, and let's carry that into some of the things that have your attention, because obviously you've got the local and the global perspective. And when you talk about people and culture and challenges and opportunities, what are some of the things that have your attention? And I'm thinking around like trends and things that, you're seeing bubble up around just where we're headed that are positive. So what are some things that, are positive trends that you see?
Sure. So I think the great news is that it's about skills and it's about talent and availability. And so these are the trends that I see in the workforce. So what you're going to see is I think companies are having to get more creative about how they think about who is their talent. So is their talent that gig worker that has a specialization in a particular area that can come in, that we can buy that talent for a short period to come in and help us with something, and then they move out and go to another organization? Is it about thinking about how do we offer opportunities to working parents or working moms that want to get back in the workforce, but that maybe can't come back full time, but have amazing abilities that will help our organization as we think about the future. Fractional employees, we have to think about things a little differently. How do we incorporate artificial intelligence into how we do things? So it's really, I think, an exciting time for organizations that are going to think about talent a little bit differently, maybe than they have in the past, kind of in an expanded view. And this is more inclusive, I think, when you think about people and ability for them to work. So that's one thing. I think that another thing is that companies are thinking about succession. There is more and more interest and necessity to start thinking about internal talent. How can we build and grow our internal talent? Because let's remember, internal talent is some of the people that got us where we are today. So can we grow them? Can we find ways to ready them for those leadership positions of the future? And so you're going to see boards and CEOs are going to spend a little bit more time on that in the future, which is going to be great for development for employees because they've been so busy over the last couple of years. We're just trying to figure it all out. But now there's going to be more focus on that. So I think that's good from a business perspective. I think that's great from an internal employee perspective. And, some succession planning requires us to go outside too, but as long as we figure that out. So I think that's going to be really important for the future. And I guess finally, the one thing that I think is a trend that is really positive, and it's about reskilling and upskilling our current employees. So that doesn't necessarily mean technology, although technology is part of that, but it's just all about developing our employees. Employees have an expectation today that you will develop them while they're there. If you do not, as an organization, they will go somewhere else. And by the way, you want to develop them because you want to have them have the right skills at the right time for your organization. It's also a retention tool. So it's kind of a win-win for employees and businesses together as they think about that. But that's going to be a positive trend, I think, as we think about moving forward.
Give me one tip that pops into your head around that talent development side. And so that can be obviously access to professional organizations, leadership, volunteerism, but what's one tip for business leaders to help kind of push that forward on the talent development side?
Well, I think there's a number of things. One of the things that we actually tried at ALSAC, which seemed to work really, really well, it was called a tour of duty. And so it was actually allowing an employee to go, get out of the position that they are today. They're going to come back to it, but to move over into another area for a period of time to learn and grow and work in that area. Or it might be shadowing, and it could be shadowing, within the organization. We didn't necessarily get too involved in this on ALSAC, but you could, hey, if you want to learn some leadership skills, go volunteer, work in some other areas that can be helpful, and you will get some of those experiences that can be really helpful to your organization and to your career long term, because people have to own their own careers. And so getting some of those development opportunities within the organization and outside of the organization, I just think there's all kinds of opportunity with that.
I like the tour of duty. I mean, just that
Mhm.
idea of cross training and also too better empathy and appreciation for
Absolutely.
other roles within the organization. I think many times it's like you only know your area. And so to understand how all the pieces fit together to
Absolutely.
make a well-oiled machine is a really powerful opportunity for leadership and empathy and respect and teamwork and
Absolutely.
collaboration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think organizations are really spending more time today on middle managers because they're the ones that are working most with your customers as well as your employees. So understanding where that is and how they fit in that big picture and maybe moving them to work in a little few different areas would could be helpful.
Well, this is one of those conversations we could go on for a long time, but we'll have to have you come back on so we can dive
Sure,
in deeper to all these amazing topics. But
sure.
go ahead and wrap up with contact information. And so, for those who say, hey, I want to learn more, I want to get involved and have you work with my organization, where do we go to learn more about DMH Consulting?
Sure. Well, I'm on LinkedIn, but I would encourage people to visit my website. It's at dmhconsultingllc.com. So thank you so much. I just appreciate this time together with you, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Well, Diane, you're a wealth of information. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.